So the extraordinary thing about The Sun Never Sets is that it begins with a very sound decision. An older man allows his younger girlfriend a break from the relationship to make sure she's not missing something, not realizing that it is a card that may cause the whole house of cards to collapse. Was that a notion experienced directly, or was it something you heard from someone else? And why did it intrigue you as a dilemma?
Mm-hmm. Directly, though not 100% directly.
Right.
But it's was sort of a movie modified version of my life post divorce when I was dating younger women. I was 38 when I got divorced, right. And women my own age were
in the midst of
either married already
yeah.
or trying to figure out if they still wanted to get married and have kids, what that looked like, in a way that I was only really finding younger women as dating options. That was who was interested in me.
Gotcha.
And so in those relationships, I was essentially saying, be careful. I don't want to get married again. I don't want to have more kids. If that is something you want, it means our relationship has an auto expiration date on it, basically. I'm not going to change my mind about this down the road.
At least you're up front.
And so, but I also, for one of those women, she was like, I don't know if I want to get married or have kids. I don't think I do. I don't really care about getting married. I don't think I want to have kids. So what I said to her was, I both believe you and would caution you to not declare that as a fact right now.
Right.
You're 29 years old.
Yeah.
How can you know for sure?
Right.
Because I had witnessed a lot of my friends enter their 30s feeling completely ambivalent about marriage and children, and turn 32 or 33 years old and suddenly start caring a lot about it.
Yeah.
And then turn 35 or 36 and essentially enter a state of panic that I was fascinated by, because suddenly the conversation became, honestly, if the next guy is good enough, I'm just going to marry that guy and start a family with him.
Yeah.
Like brutal, reality sort of pragmatism or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, I don't judge that. I mean, I think that having a family is amazing. I mean, having
Sure.
kids is incredible.
Yeah.
So I think people should do it if they want to do it. So anyway, this was sort of like the working framework in my own real life. And then, of course, I want to make a satisfying narrative film. So the turn that he experiences, the sort of 180 that this character undergoes in the film, is definitely something that happened to me, and the funniest part of the movie, both catastrophic and hilarious.
Well, yeah, because again, it's a sound decision, but he starts the ball rolling down the hill 100%. That nobody can stop.
100%. I mean, it's my favorite type of film comedy. I love a character who backs themselves into a corner and then stews. It's perfect.
So you're working with two actors doing image adjustments. Dakota Fanning becoming more contemporary, away from her child and ingenue roles, and Jake Johnson embracing full middle age. Were the actors aware of how their images were evolving in creating Wendy and Jack, and did that deepen their performances in your observation?
We never talked about it.
Okay.
I met Dakota, Jake and I met Dakota over a video chat call, like Skype or whatever. And we almost immediately dove into sharing real relationship stories and sort of connecting on that level.
Okay.
I never had a conversation with her about how she feels about her career, where she feels like she's at in her career.
Okay.
Jake I talk to all the time. He
Right.
and I are extremely close, and so I think that is such an evolving and rolling conversation between the two of us all year long, that I don't notice if he's making moves or,
Right.
Sort of adjustments or anything. But I do think that certainly I was ready to fully embrace middle age in a way that then, Jake was able to riff off of me.
Right.
You know, I certainly had a much more pronounced and hilarious midlife crisis than Jake had. You know, it's like that character is really like me wrapping my head around,
Right.
you know, being, you know, a chubby mid-40s divorcee, you know, like a clown, basically.
Yes.
And
I've been there.
so, you know, there's jokes in the movie, like when Jake and Dakota are at the table with the kids, and I don't know, Jake makes some joke about, you know, getting his ear pierced and growing out a ponytail or something like that. I mean, the midlife crisis is such a, you know, a beautifully hilarious and awesome joke comedy riff that we've had it since time eternal, you know.
Yeah. Well, the thing that as a media observer and seeing Jake throughout his career, to me it was like, boom, he was way different. Way different.
Yeah, that was a lot of costuming too. Like, I think, you know, in a way, Jake in his real life has always been a little more grown up than me. And so I think in general when we're working together, a lot of the characters that he's playing in my movies are hipper versions of him that are some sort of amalgam maybe between the way that I dress and, you know, it's, I don't know, a type of scenario that I'm getting myself into. Or it's often Jake when he was younger. That we're sort of like Digging for Fire, for instance, we're stealing a story from earlier, you know, years earlier in his life and then sort of contemporizing it or whatever.
Nice.
So coming into this one, I think a lot of Jake's look and the immediacy of that change is because he wanted to wear slacks, he wanted to wear sweaters, he chose a pair of glasses, he chose a wristwatch, like a really stark contrast.
It really was. So you're in a business that takes a toll on relationships, presumably. What have you found are the issues with relationships with your peers and generation, both in the business and outside of it, and how did you apply it to the story of The Sun Never Sets?
I think that the business is challenging to relationships and also makes it easier to form them. It's a very social job. I'm around people constantly. I'm in a sort of, I would say almost a euphoric environment of art creation, you know, where everybody there is good at their job and, you know, has sort of achieved a level of success that's allowed all of us to collaborate with, you know, even more accomplished artists and all of that stuff. So that both provides challenges and, you know, sort of excitement. I mean, even in a long-term marriage, you know, the fact that we get to go to work and make these cool things and meet all these cool people, you know, continues to make two artists in a relationship attractive and exciting to each other, you know. But it also encompasses time away from your partner. It encompasses travel. It encompasses temptation. You know, I mean, all sorts of other things. So I don't know. I mean, the new Greg Araki film sort of posits that Gen Z is not having sex and is paranoid about relationships. And I don't know if it's true. I guess I like don't really know enough young people to like, or of that like Gen Z age group to really make a declaration yet. I think they're going to be all right. I mean, I've sort of viewed this stuff as cyclical, but incorporating it has always been easy for me. I mean, I think that I'm using the stuff of my life as raw source material almost every single time. So
there you go.
At this point, it just flows out. There's no catch guard or something.
Corey Michael Smith represented the film with you at the recent Chicago Critics Fest, and in my brief encounter with him, seemed to have a very deep perspective about his work and an artisan craftsmanship in building a character. What is the X factor regarding Corey that you realize in your collaboration with him?
I think for me the two, there are three moments in the film where I feel like I'm the most excited by his performance, and all three involve holding long beats of silence before he answers a question. Like, you can see him really thinking about it and not just sort of flippantly making an immediate response just to keep the dialogue going or something like that. And I love him in those moments. There's something about his posture changes. There's something in his eyes going on that I think is extremely dynamic. So He's a very, very good actor, but I would say that is maybe one thing that I caught in the editing and shaping of the movie that I was like, ooh, he's really like got a very special thing going on there when he's in control of a scene and sort of pacing his, internal thought process out.
Well, like I said, I noticed him when he played Chevy, especially, and then to see him in your film in a completely different mode,
totally
kill it as much as he did in Saturday Night was extraordinary to me.
I agree.
For those who are not familiar with your general improv technique of cinematic storytelling, what is the best way to describe it, and how do actors who come in and hadn't necessarily done that before adapt to it?
I think the best way to describe it is to not imagine improv like people know it as comedy improv or riffing improv. We're sort of utilizing improv in the pursuit of naturalism or something.
Okay.
And I would argue in the pursuit of keeping each take dynamic and live, rather than becoming rote and scripted in a way that, sort of starts to lose its mojo or something.
Right.
So that's what I would say about its goals or aims, is not to razzle dazzle with feats of long form improv storytelling or something, but really just to sort of hit close to the bone and be raw in a way.
Well, do you take notes on things that work and then say, well...
For sure. Not even notes. It's so live in the room.
Gotcha.
Or even I'm talking in the middle of a take saying, let's circle back. Like, that's perfect. Jump back to the start of the conversation with this tone, and then let's, take it from there and move forward.
How about people who come in that are not using that technique?
It's extremely varied. I have worked with actors who improvise the first take and then essentially copy that improvisation for subsequent takes, which is easier to edit, that's for sure. I've had actors do it completely different every single take, almost no rechecking of boxes or anything. My job is to just unify, not to... there's no technique that I'm trying to get the actor on board with.
Okay.
Really, I just want to make sure that whatever people are bringing to it, they all feel like they're in the same scene together, or the same episode, or the same movie, and that's universe. It. So they can all have their own working methods. They can all have their own approach to it. But
that's really something. That's great. So, what personality of actor-artists works best in your technique, and what is the connective tissue for artists you work with multiple times, like Jake and maybe Greta Gerwig, for example?
Yeah. I think that they have to be brilliant writers because of the improvisation. They're live collaborating with me on the script or the writing process.
Interesting.
So with Jake and Greta and Anna Kendrick, Jane Addams, Kent Osborne, those are probably the people I've worked with the most. Brilliant writers, that's definitely one. Just that their brain works in storytelling capacity, and then also, real shared sense of humor and excitement with me over how the material of everyday life is interesting. Not a need to gussy it up too much, really a strong sense that if we just are honest and raw and real about what we're shooting, that it will be entertaining and it will be interesting. And then I would say at the tippy top, the ability to do all of those things I just said while maintaining a sense of continuity and traditional film-based skills. That's the real magic trick, is when you're fully in it, you're writing in real time, your brain is cooking, you're immersed, and you remember that you picked up the wine glass with your left hand in the 2 previous takes. That's when I'm like, we will make many, many movies together.
Feel like Chris Farley here. Awesome. You like to act in films, both in yours and as a support appearance and other just establishing themselves filmmakers, because I just saw Loafers. What factors need to be in place for you to either cast yourself or take a role that someone offers? And how would you describe yourself as a performer?
I have to say, not to like knock anything that I've been in, but I basically say yes to acting roles when people offer them to me. Okay. I am not looking for a specific thing. Right. I'm okay doing something I've done 10 times before. I'm also okay doing something I've never done. I do like to act, and I think that I realized early on as a director that it was one of the best gifts that I could give my own actors was to, as frequently as possible, put myself in front of the camera and remind myself how vulnerable, difficult the job is, how insecure you feel when you're not in control of the set, Just dosing myself with that on all sizes of budget levels, super low budget student films, huge Hollywood productions, just makes me a more empathetic and aware, person when I'm asking somebody to do something or barking an order from behind camera or whatever else, I have to be like, oh, right. Remember that this person is here to help you. They have the best intentions, they're not... Right.
That's a good way of keeping yourself
and they're nervous right now, or they're, whatever.
Right.
They've never, or this, the clothes that I put them in don't feel comfortable and right, so they're adjusting to that feeling, all things that I have to experience when I throw myself at the mercy of other filmmakers.
What's your go-to for karaoke?
Mr. Jones, Counting Crows. It has been for a whole
since
long
it came
time.
out. Famously, in 2010, you completed 7 feature films. What was the circumstance of that run? Was it an experiment as a cinema artist, or just a moment in time in which circumstance met opportunity? And what do you reflect upon most about that era?
Well, my thought process at the time, because my wife Chris was pregnant, was that I could probably edit after my son was born a lot easier than I could shoot. So I went into that year. I mean, I think we found out she was pregnant in February or March. So essentially from that point until November when he was born, I was in perpetual production with the idea that maybe I would bank some of these projects for later.
Sure.
And then I was just so in the flow that I was editing them as quickly as I was making them, and I just accidentally ended up making all those movies. But I would also say the excitement / nervousness / looming sense of responsibility, lit a fire under me in a way that I was almost on some sort of like unconscious automatic mode. I was just feeling a lot of things, going through a lot of upcoming personal shifts, the whole ecosystem of my life and my body and everything were just, tingling at all times with all
How old
kinds.
were you? 28?
28, yeah, or 29.
The energy, too.
Yeah. I was 29, yeah. So, I just, rather than shut it off, just remained in it. And each time I finished another film was sort of looked ahead at the calendar and thought, well, there's time to do another. I mean, I might as well. I don't know what life will look like after Jude is born. So let me just get while the getting's good.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2026.